All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the BeWell Leader Panel round, I think 3. Dr. Gibbs, third time around, and welcoming Principal Lambert and Dr. Glaze as well. Thank you for being here. We're going to start with, and just in time, we have Principal Alexander joining us as well.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Oh, there she is. Hi, Principal Alexander.
Morning,
We're going to
everyone.
start with just a grounding breath, and then I'm going to pass it to you guys to kind of introduce yourselves, where you're coming from, and where you're at in BeWell implementation. But in the nature of a me moment and how we start our days at our schools, we're going to take a grounding breath. So if it feels safe to close your eyes or you just want to look down, get comfortable in your chair, you can roll your shoulders, you can drop one ear and then the other, whatever helps you arrive here this morning. And then when you're ready, we'll take 3 breaths together, starting with an exhale to let go of anything you're holding on to. And then take a big breath in through your nose. And a long breath out. Breathing in, feel the belly fill, feel the ribs expand. As you exhale, let go, breathe out. And last one, breathing in, good thoughts and feelings for the day. And breathing out anything you don't need. And if your eyes closed, you can blink them open. And we will start with some introductions. I will start with BeWell team. Kara, if you want to chime in on your role, and then you can pass it from there.
Yes, I'm Kara. I'm the BeWell Program Director. I get to be in each of your, well, minus Dr. Gibbs, but I get to be in each school throughout the week. Previous to this, I was a BeWell teacher at another Metro Nashville school, and that's who I am. Passing it to Ricky Ratner.
Me? Oh, okay.
You have to introduce too.
Sure. I am the founder and executive director of BeWell in School, and I have the privilege of working with all of these school leaders to reimagine how we approach behavior, discipline, culture, and implement proactive strategies for self-regulation and connection at school. I will pass it to my Ricky Dream Team, Dr. Gibbs.
Hey, Ricky Gibbs. I've had the honor and pleasure of being the founding principal with BeWell in Schools when we implemented this work at One Arts Magnet located in Metro Nashville Public Schools. But currently I serve as the head of schools for Lee Public Schools, and I oversee our middle and our expansion into elementary school, and super excited to restart this work in the fall, partnering with BeWell in Schools to make sure that we're changing our students' lives one breath at a time. I'll pass it to Principal Lambert.
I had a feeling it was coming my way, Dr. Gibbs. But I'm Alex Lambert. I'm the principal at Nashville Classical West. We are the second campus, our sister campus, Nashville Classical East, most people know about, but we are up and coming. So we are in our second year, and we have kindergarten and first grade students right now. And this is our very first year that we have ever implemented BeWell. And we are excited because we're the first ever silver program participant, which looks a little bit different than maybe the gold looks. And we'll probably talk more about that today. And it's coming your way, Dr. Glaze.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Glaze, and I'm currently the curriculum specialist at Tom Joy Digital Literacy and Leadership Magnet Elementary School. I was a pleasure to work at Warner Arts Magnet Elementary School as a third grade teacher implementing BeWell. And I also now have been implementing BeWell in schools as the first year at Tom Joy Digital Literacy and Leadership School.
And I'll close us out. Good morning, everyone. I'm Principal Alexander. I'm the founding principal of Rocket Ship Dream Community Prep, located in Antioch. And I learned about BeWell through a podcast called The Promise. And that allowed me to go visit Warner and see it in action for myself, and then decide to implement it in our founding year at Dream. This is our third year with BeWell in schools.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We have such a cool mix of experience in this virtual room. So let's dive in. The first question we're going to discuss today is, why did you choose to bring the BeWell program to your school? And if anyone feels like they want to kick it off.
I vote Dr. Gibbs because you were the founding BeWell participant. So I think most of us are connected here because of the work we saw at Warner. So I would love for you to actually start us off.
I'll jump right in. So we started down this path simply because the behavior at Warner was just something to behold. Our initial year, we had 178 students, and we logged over 700 disciplinary referrals and over 100 out-of-school suspensions. And I remember sitting down in a meeting, and I was telling people, like, it was something that I felt like I was contributing to the school to prison pipeline. We were educating students who were coming from one of the largest public housing complexes in Nashville, Casey Homes, where we know that students were coming from a situation where they saw a lot of violence, they saw a lot of trauma, and they would bring it to the school, and I would just send them right back to the community, like, that's just not acceptable here. So I knew we needed to do something different. And I also realized that every time I walked in a space, students would act a certain way, but then as soon as I left, they would act a different way. And I remember telling myself, man, I'm a 6 foot, 250-pound, bald head black man with a big voice. So, I can tend to walk in a room and 6 to 10-year-olds act a certain way, but I needed them to just be the best versions of themselves. So we would in a meeting, and I heard about BeWell, and I was like, I'm not really all the touchy-feely, take a breath. When I say sit down, I mean sit down the first time. But then I also told myself, sit down the first time is not working. So we had to try something different. And within the first 6 months, I realized, you know what? This is probably one of the best investments I ever made for my scholars, because now we had the opportunity for students to show up and be the best versions of themselves. And we didn't have to use what I call the ultimate threat in education. And we don't think of it as a threat, but it's probably the most dysregulating threat we can use. And a thing we always go back to, man, do I need to call your mom and daddy? And for children, they could be here, but as soon as you say that, that takes them here, especially students who come from situations where their parents mostly only know how to discipline through physical discipline or through yelling. So it was a bet to say, hey, we have some real deep work that has to get done for our scholars. And if we don't do this, we're going to not only continue adding to the school to prison pipeline, but also we're going to continue having students who are dysregulated every day because they get threatened at home, they're getting threatened at school. Nothing will change.
So since I put you on the spot, Dr. Gibbs, I'll share a second. I came from a different background. Like, I was mostly in middle school. And so I saw kids who had probably learned lots of poor coping skills by the time I got them when they were around 11 or 12 years old. And so as a discipline lead, I constantly found myself in this struggle of, like, kids are misbehaving. A lot of it was because they had really never learned how to regulate their emotions, how to identify their feelings. But when they got to the teacher's classroom, and when you're 12 and those behaviors come out, teacher's first response was send them out, send them out, send them out. And so I started to feel this conflict of, we have to start teaching at some point. At some point, there has to be like a learning moment for our scholars to be able to recognize how they feel and to be able to do something positive about that moment, so that they're able to work productively through that. It wasn't until I got to elementary school that I quickly realized that actually looks a lot different with little kids, where they get dysregulated, and middle school kids, they would just cuss us out. Like, that's just kind of what it was. We just kind of roll with it, and we didn't really know what to do. But in elementary, kids are maybe not as controlled. And so I saw things like throwing furniture items or hitting a lot, things that we did not want to see in the school, but sending the kid home or calling their parent was also not helping the situation. They needed tools. And so I actually was in a master's program, had an opportunity to visit Warner, and got a chance to see something different, and said, we have to try this in our school. But that was a 2-year journey and a 2-year fight to actually get the program implemented once I opened up a new campus. So I saw the program years ago when Dr. Gibbs was still there. But it was very challenging to get other people to buy into this idea that there is something other than discipline that we can do to help our scholars to be able to make better choices in the moment. And so just seeing the testimonials from students, seeing it live in action, and also data speaks volumes. I mean, I was sold once Dr. Gibbs said, look at how our discipline referrals have cut down. And then hearing the students say, and I feel so much better about being at school because I know that I have a way to be able to regulate my feelings and for those things to get recognized and validated, but also lead to a more positive outcome than needing to call home or send a kid home or keep them in a reset room for the day, which is not what we want for any of our kids. And so for us, it was a huge investment in our school, and we've already starting to see the positive benefits of having the program and really starting off with young kids that are 5 and 6 years old.
Well, I would love to jump in. From implementing BeWell in the 3rd grade classroom, I remember my first day and first week at Warner Arts Magnet as a 3rd grade teacher and having majority of African-American males in my classroom, teaching and supporting my colleague who had lost his mom. And I remember I was struggling as a seasoned teacher, and I went down to Dr. Gibbs's office and told him I no longer could work at Warner Arts Magnet because I was struggling with behaviors. I was implementing all of the classroom management skills that I knew how to pull out of my toolbox, and they were not working. But when we implemented BeWell, Ricky came in and co-taught with my morning meeting majority of the times. She taught us about me moments. We did morning announcements and did those sentence stems. Something started to change. And I was implementing these strategies myself. And I started to feel empowered. Dr. Gibbs told me to just stick with it, trust the process. And so from implementing, long story short, BeWell at Warner and being able to see the change within the 3 years that I worked at Warner, I told my principal at Tom Joy when I first started, and we were implementing Magnet, we were implementing Avid, so many other initiatives. She told me I could not implement one other thing at first. So I let that go for 2 years. And then the next year, I presented BeWell and some data behind it. And a new leader was like, well, let's just try it. And so this is our first year implementing BeWell, and we implemented BeWell for a number of reasons. A lot of our students were being sent to the office instead of dealing with behavior in the classroom. So that just showed that we needed to teach teachers how to de-escalate, implement peace corners in the classroom so students were able to receive their core instruction, because what are students benefiting from being in the office? That means also our suspension rate, discipline referrals were increasing. Also attendance, chronic attendance was low. And so some things that we needed to teach our teachers how to de-escalate. Teachers, our culture, our morale was just low. We were not retaining teachers. And so bringing BeWell into Tom Joy has implemented a lot of positive culture, learning environments. Students are able to focus, low stress and anxiety, and it's also supporting social emotional learning. And it's really building student and teacher relationships. And for me not to be a classroom teacher anymore, I feel like I'm also supporting teachers school-wide, and I'm able to still implement me moments around the school. And it's really building academic performance and student growth, which is what we want to do.
So I had the unique opportunity to found a school and really be able to create a vision of what I thought would be possible. And fortunately, as I previously mentioned, I did get exposure to BeWell through my experience at Warner. And I had a director of schools that really was invested in giving me the opportunity to try something new. And I think the reason I sought it out was I really did not like the idea of having typically a person of color serve in a dean role as the school bouncer. And I didn't want us to be one of those schools where we believed in just controlling kids rather than actually giving them the tools to cope and the tools to be just really good humans. And so having the opportunity to have BeWell in our founding year and make that the foundation, mindfulness, the foundation, has been really great because not only has it supported our kids, but it's actually supported our teacher team a lot too. And our families. Our families seek out the BeWell room. They utilize the BeWell room. They utilize the breathing strategies. We just had a family yoga day on Tuesday and they loved it. And we're just like, we want to have it again. So it hasn't just impacted the way that we discipline and the way that we support students, but it's also impacted our family's experience of the school.
Beautiful. Everybody has, their unique experience with BeWell, and there's so many common threads in each of your stories. Just expanding on that a little bit, you chose to implement BeWell, and in the role you're in now, and for Dr. Glaze, I think you can also speak to the classroom teacher experience and how that impacted your experience in the classroom and now in a more leadership position, what that looks like for your role. But how has the BeWell program impacted your role and or your school community? And, Jessica, Principal Alexander, I think you have a unique perspective at year 3. So maybe we start the opposite direction. Principal Alexander, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yes, I do have the experience of now having BeWell for 3 years, and it hasn't been easy. Every year, Ricky and I have to come to the table and defend the quality and the product that BeWell provides to our students. But each year, we're able to provide data. So in year 1, we had a total of 3 suspensions for the entire school year. And it was because we had so many different proactive measures that we put in place to make sure that we're going to exhaust everything. We're going to give you time in that BeWell space. We're going to make sure that you have that cozy corner in your classroom. Everything that we can do to de-escalate, we're going to try that before we extend to a suspension. At the end of the day, our kids are coming back, right? And they're going to come back the same way that they left, more likely than not. And so we didn't see suspension as a way to actually change behavior. The only way to change behavior is to actually provide a replacement behavior. And so we started with kids who, they would cry all day. They would scream, they would tantrum. And slowly but surely, we started using the breathing balls. We started taking stretch breaks. We started having the cozy corner as a way for kids to advocate for needing that quick mindful moment. And at first it seemed like, wow, some of our kids are actually just taking advantage. But once they had the tools, they didn't need to leave class. They didn't even need to go to the cozy corner. You could see kids during tests or during times where they were getting stressed, just taking that break in their seats. And that is not something that just happens. It's something that has to come with intentionality and practice and patience. And we've added a total of 100 kids to our school each year. And so in a sense, it almost feels like founding all over again when you have that many new kids plus 100 kindergartners. But we've had the consistency of making sure that our staff is really bought into the program. It's a part of how we even interview. We talk about being mindful. We talk about the different ways that we are trying discipline at our school. And it has allowed us to really get a good crop of team members who are not only invested in the growth of their students, but invested in their own personal mindfulness growth. So it's been a journey, but it's been one that has been very beneficial to our community.
I'll hop right on in. I love how you utilize the word crop in a journey because I feel like Tom Joy is on that journey and we're still traveling up that mountain. And it starts with the top where your administrators believe in that vision and believe in that mission of Be Well. Um, so it's impacted, my role has impacted as an curriculum specialist to share my story of how we started Be Well in my third grade classroom, my struggles, my challenges, because a lot of teachers have those same struggles. And when they can connect with my story and see where I had those challenges, they kind of had that same buy-in. Well, how did you implement Be Well? Where do I have the space and the time to implement Be Well? Can you come in and co-teach in the morning and do morning meetings with me? Can you show me those sentence stems? Can you help me roll out the Peace Corner? Because a lot of students were using the Peace Corner as a moment to play, just to disconnect from the learning because they were frustrated or felt like they could not have an entry point to the learning or the subjects to master those standards. So, and that's exactly where Kira and I are at right now. We have a space where we call Tiger Den, 30 minutes of the month, a week, where we educate our teachers of a professional development, and we are doing a Tiger Den on BeWell Peace Corners because we need to go back to the drawing board and train our teachers. What do Peace Corners look like? Because some spaces are not a Peace Corner and we have just tools laying around. So let's take some tools back and let's go ahead and model one tool at a time because we want this to be effective. And so that is how it's impacted our community. Also leading, I also take every Tuesday to lead Be Well Me Moments. And I have check-in and check-out students. So I do Me Moments every morning with my check-in and check-out students. We close the day with breathing and we open the day with breathing. So I think coming together as a school to be mindful and closing our day to be mindful. We have an assistant principal that just had a baby. So having a transition of a new assistant principal interim, he has a vision and wants to still implement that. And I think him bringing that vision in, and I'm still willing him in. And I think just having that journey together and getting that Be Well, just continuously getting people to implement these me moments all day, and our students understanding we are also a leader in me school. So allowing students to be leaders throughout the day empowers them to communicate with other students as they are escalated, to show them, hey friend, this is how you could use a breathing ball. Hey friend, this is how you can use a stress ball to de-escalate when you are escalated. So that is how our community is being impacted at this time.
And I'll share, because I've literally been writing down ideas that both of you all just shared, Principal Alexander and Dr. Glaze. I think the first thing I think about is the impact that it's had on me as like a leader. We are a very small school. We are in our second founding year, and we don't have like a dean of culture. I only have one other administrator that works with operations and lots of other things in the school. And so I am the face and the person that's like in Be Well often and has to also manage large disciplinary things when they come up. And so I think for me, I'm like, I have to be the most regulated human being in this building right now. Even though I don't feel that way on the inside. And what Be Well taught me that sticks with me all the time is my ocean has to be calm because theirs is like crashing waves. And if both of those waves crash together, it's not going to end well for myself or for a kid because we're both just about to leave a situation feeling frustrated and depleted. And so for me, it has allowed me to stop and teach myself, like, you need to be mindful right now, or to recognize moments where my teachers need to be a little more mindful of where they are and where their ocean is. So I can say, hey, I need to step in for you so you can take a breath right now. I see it. Let's like bring this ocean down together. And then in terms of our school, because I'm just such a big believer in it. And like, to your point, Dr. Gibbs, I wasn't always there. I was always like this is the rule, this is the expectation. And like, I expect you to follow it. But there has to be some middle ground somewhere because that's not always going to work. And so for us, integrating BeWell Mondays, instead of PE, our students do yoga, and Kara comes to the school to help our PE teacher lead an entire block of mindfulness for kids. We build in our me moment in the middle of the day because our kids are pretty all dysregulated after lunch and recess. And so for us, we start that me moment as soon as we come back in to help get our entire school regrounded and back in like learning mode and able to focus. And that's been really helpful for us. And then Peace Corners, Dr. Glaze, we were just with you. We literally just did a PD where we reset. What does it mean to effectively like manage a Peace Corner? How do you recognize kids who are ready for Peace Corners and kids who just might need BeWell right now because they don't have the tools yet and you can't manage it while you're also trying to teach? So let's think about this in stair steps and how do we make sure that we fully integrate it? And it's really giving us common language. As a school, for our scholars, for our families, when we talk to them, when we talk about mindfulness, just being able to say, do you need a BeWell moment right now? Like, Mom, I need you to take a breath. It's okay. They're 5. You're getting really worked up and it's going to be okay. And so it's had a really positive impact on myself, all of our scholars, and our staff. Like they know that there's a way that they can get support in the moments where they are probably struggling too, when that kid is, y'all are like this, and you got to give teachers a way to feel support. And it is allow both kids to feel that and for our staff to grow and to understand they are babies, they are learning, and it is our job to teach them. And here's a really great tool to be able to do that. And so we try to implement it in every single aspect of our school and really encourage our teachers to model. It's okay. Stop and take a deep breath for a second. They need to know it's okay. And it has really, really created a more positive culture in our school all the way around and doesn't feel so tense in moments where sometimes feelings and emotions are getting high from kids and from our teachers.
So I want to make sure I double down on a couple things that Principal Lambert just said before I jump into my unique perspective. So Principal Lambert brought up a point that we often talk about in this work, that a dysregulated adult cannot regulate a dysregulated child. So as adults, that's part of the beauty of the work of BeWell. You know, we look at it as the work that we're doing with children, but as adults, you're learning new skills to help yourself learn regulation strategies to make sure that you're in a place that you can actually really work with the child. But also, I don't want people to just skip over a gem that Principal Lambert just said, and it made me smile because it shows that the work is growing, but also that on each campus, if you are really true to the process, you find things and you realize what works best for you. Because me moments are normally something that happens first thing in the morning when students are walking in the door. It's part of the morning announcements. But when she shared that they do it in the middle of the day, you know, after that lunch period or after that recess time to get students back settled, I sat here and was like, man, I wish I would have thought about that, because that's literally when business picks up. Like, if we could start a day great, but it's something about going to lunch and then going to recess that business just begins to pick up in the elementary days. So, and thank you for sharing that, because that actually, as we think about, you know, our elementary school taking off this fall and doing that work, that's something that I'll make sure that I share with our school-based principal. But I'm gonna share a perspective 2 ways, being from the principal perspective, and then also someone that serves as head of schools who oversees the budgeting process now. So from the principal's perspective, I always tell people, BeWell allowed me to get away from the cardinal sin of being a principal. The cardinal sin is something happens in the classroom, a teacher sends a child to the office to get regulated. I regulate the child, but I can do it quicker than the classroom teacher does it. So 15 minutes later, I send the kid back to class so he can have a great day. And it's like, oh man, Gibbs ain't do nothing. He came back smiling. He must have gave him a lollipop or something. Why this kid smiling? Knowing that I really just went through this regulation process, but having BeWell in place, teachers expect children to be dysregulated. They go to that BeWell classroom. They expect them to come back 10 to 15 minutes later, regulated and ready to get back to being the best versions of themselves. So that process allowed me as principal to remove myself. And now we go from, send a kid to the office and they come back in 15 minutes and it's, you ain't do nothing, to you send a kid to BeWell, they come back in 15 minutes, they welcome them with open arms, knowing that that child is regulated and ready to go about the day. So it removed that stigma that because the principal regulates children, that the principal's not doing anything, they in the office playing, versus understanding that, hey, we're really going through this process. So that was major on just culture wise of the school, been able to remove myself out of that aspect. But now, as serving as head of schools, I have the unenviable process of always thinking about the finances. And as someone who is a believer in this work, someone who started this work from the very beginning, alongside of Ratner, understanding that you can't tell the story of Warner without the story of BeWell. You can't tell the evolution of Dr. Gibbs as a school leader without talking BeWell. So now my part is, how do I get other school leaders to understand that this investment is worthwhile when we start looking at school budgets? Because ultimately, I have to always remember that you want to empower the principal to be able to make decisions. But my stance is not to tell, now I will tell my direct reports what they need to do certain things, but with this kind of work, you don't want to force it upon someone, because this work only really, really takes root and moves when leadership backs the work. Because you're going to have your times where you stumble, and leaders have to be there to support the staff and say, hey, let's think about this, or we're going to bring this resource in to show that we can keep moving forward. So now just understanding how, from looking at the budgeting perspective and what it takes to actually run a school, and making this investment in BeWell is just like making an investment in curriculum. The same way you wouldn't allow your students not to have reading and math textbooks or reading and math curriculum, how can you really make the decision to not put something in place that teaches your students how to self-regulate? Because if you have a school full of dysregulated children, I'm gonna show you a school that has very little time on task. Because if teachers are spending the vast majority of their instructional blocks dealing with people like me when I was in elementary school that consistently was disrespectful and wanted to do what I wanted to do, that takes away from instruction. And at the end of the day, we're in a educational climate where outcomes really, really matter. So just making sure that the same way we put this focus on literacy and numeracy and how we back it with our finances, we back it with the budget. Now I have the process of trying to make sure that other people, other school leaders, understand that if we're going to have a serious focus on literacy and numeracy, we have to also have a serious focus on our young people's well-being, because their social emotional growth is the only way we can ensure that they'll have the time on task needed to actually be proficient in literacy and numeracy.
Once again, the threads of your stories are so similar. I'm hearing the impact on students, the impact on teachers, and the intentionality of administration in being key to the journey unfolding in a way that's meaningful for your school community. So kind of on that vein, can each of you share a success story of like, when did you know this investment, this risk that you took was paying off? And that can be in the lens of your role, your teachers, families, students. Anybody want to jump in? Go ahead, Dr. Gibbs.
Oh, no, I was for the volunteer Principal Lambert. We started from the top and the bottom. Now it's time to start in the middle this time.
It's only fair. Lunchtime me moment.
I'll definitely take that. This is our first year, and so I think we've seen success in very small pockets because I'm waiting to do a whole year roll up to really compare data and look at where we started the year, where we ended, and compare that to last year's data. But I think about a particular student. My baby is attached to my hip, and I mean that with like all my heart because I know that he has some challenging behaviors. He has a behavior intervention plan because we have some pretty serious things that can happen that can compromise safety in the school. And I think about the impact that BeWell has had on him. The first half of the year, I looked at his data. He's just getting sent out of class all the time. I think teachers got frustrated very quickly because behaviors would escalate very quickly. And they were just like, he's got to go. He's got to go. He's got to go. And I'm like, we have to try something different. He has to learn too, even though I know it is very hard. We didn't really see this turn until about 2 weeks ago, actually. We implemented a new plan and we said we have to be intentional about BeWell with him. It cannot just be he has to recognize it on his own. He needs prompt cards. He needs a physical picture. He needs something so that he knows that this is a way for him to be able to work through these really hard moments. And it first started where he would just start off, a little bit. He would come in the hall, but he still wouldn't come in the room. He would like linger a little bit and he just was very distrustful. And for background, he'd already done kindergarten at another school prior to coming to us. And these behaviors were there. And his parents told me he was in school suspension all day long. They didn't even let him go into the gen ed setting. And I'm like, what a disservice to him. But also, no wonder he's coming to us so dysregulated without any coping skills. He's never learned any. And about a week ago, he started to come in and he would say, I think he needs the peace corner. And I would look at him and say, oh, buddy, you're right. And I want you to start using the peace corner too. But it wasn't until I saw students come in to BeWell with him where I was like, he is listening, he is hearing us. And he started to teach other kids in his class, like, actually, what you're supposed to do right now is be taking 7 deep breaths. And I'm like, you're right. And can you show him how to do that? And it's those moments for us where he has definitely been one of our more challenging students this year, but we are not going to give up on him. And we're not about to send him somewhere else or tell his family this is not a good fit because he's had a rough experience and he needs something different. But these learning moments for him, if I can see this glimmer and like see this hope for one of our more challenging scholars, I want y'all to just think about, and I know you've experienced what it means for our other kids who also have gotten to learn and experience that. And just the amount of students who I flip back and look at those books, I'm asking to come myself. My teacher's not asking me to go anymore. They're not prompting me. I'm asking to go. And we've seen that number really start to flip after Q1, where teachers were prompting. And now we're looking at the data and saying kids are asking, they're recognizing, they know that they need some other support. And I think there's just no greater success than to see kids owning it and it not just lying in the hands of our teachers or administrators.
So I'll go ahead and jump in. When we think about some of the greatest results that we saw, I talked earlier, when we started this work, over 700 disciplinary referrals. I remember one year we dropped it all the way down to 32. And I used to always tell people, they'd be like, man, how do you only got 32 disciplinary referrals? The babies were still the same, like as far as the student population. But now instead of allowing situations to, get too high and it warrants a disciplinary referral, we saw students taking their power and saying, hey, man, can I go to the BeWell room? And that was one of the things that I always told people. People like, but you allow students to just go ahead and like leave class? Absolutely, because if it was an adult situation, if I got frustrated and I told you I just need a break and I was gonna come back to finish a conversation or come back and finish my work, you'll be like, oh man, Ricky is such an adult. He makes great decisions. I want my young people to do that same thing. So like being able to see that disciplinary referral go down and take out of school suspensions from over 100 down to like 10, like that was huge for us. Because I tell you right, as soon as we saw the discipline go down, we saw the academics tick up. And that's when I started talking about that time on task. Because instead of having students suspended from school, having students sitting in the office all day, we got students in class, and we went from a level 1 school to a level 5 on TVOS. and actually was one of the first schools in the city to go from priority status to reward status, which is huge. Talking about the turnaround, while I tell everybody, we had amazing educators who were busting their butts, making sure that our students got all the academic portions. But they will tell you within, if you ask them, part of the magic was now that we had structures in place where our students could feel successful. And we could, consistently speak life into them. And once we started speaking life into them, they were able to do what we knew they could ultimately do and be the best versions of themselves. So it went from a situation where teachers showing up frustrated, understanding what they were walking into, and just thinking what type of disrespect will I have to endure today, to understanding, hey man, look, we gonna have a good time. Even if you get dysregulated, there's a space for you, and when you come back, man, I'm gonna love you just the same. But when you're in this room, there's a certain level of expectation I have for you, and I want you to live up to that expectation. So I would say our biggest success, not only decreasing the disciplinary referrals, but I talked about it earlier. We live in an educational climate that outcomes matter. So being able to not only have the impact and making sure that our boys and girls are showing up as the best version of themselves, but as the best version of themselves, being able to show what they can do academically, to me really was that moment that we could just look back on and say, this is why this work matters.
I'll jump in. So I love hearing the stories of the impact it's been having on you guys as kids, especially that one child. Like, I also have an experience similar, but I think one of the things that's been really great for me is actually seeing the impact that it has on the family structure. Like, when our families come in and participate in a BeWell class, or when we have our BeWell community meetings, the level of participation and excitement that our families bring is very, I love it. But I think even just how our families try to change some of their discipline structure to match what we're doing at school, so that students aren't having to code switch. It's consistent. I have a cozy corner at school, and I have a place I can go at home. I can advocate for myself at school, and I can appropriately advocate for myself at home. And so we actually had a parent who came in one day, and she was very dysregulated. She was hot. And our BeWell specialist said, I think you need a me moment. I think you need to come to the BeWell room. Let's talk. And we were able to unpack so much with that parent, to the point where she actually apologized to not only our team, but to her child, because it wasn't anything that had to do with any direct action from the child or the school. She was just frustrated. And so seeing our families start to also utilize the skills that we're, giving to our kids has been very exciting. And I think is like the real game changer for us.
Well, I love to share how BeWell has impacted Tom Joy within this year we've implemented it. Tired in, we've had some teachers that has had some success with BeWell in their classroom, so they've volunteered to lead and facilitate BeWell. Tired in on how BeWell has been implemented with their transitions in their classroom, to share with other teachers in the school how they can implement and it can impact their classroom. So teachers are empowered, because all teachers have not been bought in yet. And so that has been a success. And we also have some teachers, other teachers who said, hey, I've had success with it. Let me try to facilitate a Tiger Den in March or April. My check-in students have asked me, could they get on the announcements in the morning to share a BeWell breath that they have made up. So noticing that students are wanting to lead in BeWell Me Moment, so that's encouraging. Our ambassador teams have started to wanted to step up, and it's not just myself or the administrators trying to incorporate BeWell in the school-wide Me Moments. Even Miss Destiny, who is our BeWell teacher, is starting to come up with other ways that BeWell is going to be implemented, not only just in the cafeteria, having BeWell before students leave the cafeteria with the breath. So just being more reflective of how BeWell can be implemented around our school.
I hear so much from all of you of how there's this importance in the adult buy-in, from parents to teachers, but that begins with that buy-in from the administrator, setting the tone of what culture is going to be like at the school, and then letting teachers and colleagues support that journey, right? The journey of people embodying BeWell and learning these strategies. So shifting a little bit to more of the logistics, mindful of time, we have about 15 minutes left. How do you, before we get to some of the advice and indicators of success, how did you fund the program? And I know this is a little different for everybody. And transparency is important. This helps our school leaders learn how to navigate this. So how have you funded it? And I will start, I'm going to give it to Dr. Gibbs first to give his perspective in head of schools and having been a principal, and then we'll trickle from there.
Yeah, so I've seen funding go a whole bunch of different directions. As the founding principal, I remember sitting down with Ratner, and we were talking about how we were going to do this work. And for the first year of implementation, we did it. It was going to be free. I remember Ratner saying, "I'm going to do a 5-year pilot. You don't have to pay me for 5 years, and we'll see how this goes." And I was like, well, you're gonna do it for free? Cool. I mean, it's part of it. I appreciate it. But then we quickly realized that the impact it was making, and that year we were priority status, so we benefited from like some tag funding and some SIG grants that we ended up applying for with the State Department. And I remember telling Ratner, like, if we were blessed to get some grant funds, and I wanted to make sure that we could fund the program using these grant funds, because if something is having a significant impact on students, I believe it's worth an investment at that point. So, and that's, so we went from starting a pilot to saying, hey, well, we can fund this through grant funds. All like any other grant, it eventually wears out. So then we decided that we were going to funded from our student-based budget. So just from, if you're in the state of Tennessee, your TISA funding, or just your student allocation from, other states, to ensure that it could be paid that way. Now as head of schools, and the second largest public charter school here in the state of Tennessee with Lee Public Schools, we're looking at it two ways. We are looking at funding BeWell through our TISA funding. That's the student allocation funding that every public school gets. But then also we look at philanthropy dollars. How do you go out in the community and tell the story of what impact BeWell is doing? And you have a lot of philanthropists that are across the state of Tennessee who take an interest in making sure that students are able to show up as the best versions of themselves every day. So we looked at not only how we can use TISA funding, but also are there philanthropists around the city and across the state who take a keen interest in hearing the story of how BeWell is changing, and how BeWell is changing lives, but even to think about what Principal Alexander says and how they do the community meetings. I think if you can tell the story about how BeWell is helping shift family structures and how families are responding, that could be another story that you can tell when you want to bring in those philanthropy dollars to really help support schools. So we've seen it from grants to TISA funding to also using philanthropy dollars.
So our school was funded by a grant by the Scarlett Foundation and Bill Deloche. They actually paid for the first 2 years of programming and implementation. A part of that was, one, allowing them to come into the school and see the impact. I do think that they thought it was a really great investment. Going into year 3, Ricky pulled out some magic. I don't even know who it came from, but we were able to once again have a grant support our school, because as Dr. Gibbs said, once you get to looking at budgets, especially now that so much of the funding from COVID is gone. It's bare bones in a lot of spaces. So even though I know that my director of schools and my network supports the work, they're not always putting the money there to keep the work going. So our school has been very blessed to have just stumbled upon some really great grant opportunities. So thanks for the work in the background, Ricky.
Well, I'll piggyback there because Principal Alexander, we're in the same boat. This is our very first year. And like I told you all, I promise you I went through 2 years of opposition before even getting people to believe that this is something that was possible. And Ricky and I corresponded for, I think, almost a year, actually, before we were able to get grant funding to bring the Silver program to the school. And then just looking forward to the future, similar to Dr. Gibbs, we have to look at a lot of philanthropy dollars. There is bare bones for SEL, even though we are focused on outcomes and kids have to be regulated and in a great focused state of mind to be able to get there, the funding is not there to make it happen. And so philanthropy dollars are a big area that we'll be looking at. And I'm gonna just have to press really hard on my leadership because they are seeing the positive results, but that doesn't always mean that they're going to put the funding there, even with seeing those results, given how just tight the budget is for all of us going into this season.
And Tom Joy is benefiting from BeWell with the BeWell School Fund. And we are actually talking about, as our MSAP grant is going to be ending, some sustainability plans and how we will fund BeWell moving forward, because we know that it is very beneficial to our scholars as well.
So for all the philanthropists who listen to this recording, your support is needed. That is why we started the school fund. We recognize that financing this program is a huge barrier for schools. And when there's a committed leader, I feel committed to meeting that commitment with how can we fund this so kids, teachers, families have what they need. And we've been lucky to have the right funders come in, the right grants come in, but it takes a lot of intentional effort from you all, from our team. And I think it was Miss Crockett at Tom Joy. She's on maternity leave right now, but I think she said something at our BeWell tour along the lines of, nobody's going to say schools and kids and teachers don't deserve this, but they're also not funding it. And so that's where we need support from people who get it and are invested in. I love how Dr. Gibbs has kept saying this, students being their best selves, teachers being able to be their best selves, and caregivers and families being able to show up as their best selves, but that happens when we're resourced. So with our remaining 7 to 10 minutes, what advice do you have? I'm going to kind of merge our last questions together. What advice do you have in terms of overcoming challenges in implementation, and what factors in your school kind of set you up for success in implementation?
So I'll go in and jump in on that one. I'm gonna start with the factors, then I'll go to the advice. The factors that set you up for success is understanding that when you start the process of implementing BeWell in schools, similar to you start the process for your academic focus or your numeracy focus, I think you have to go in it with the same type of dedication and understanding that development has to happen. So this isn't something that you do doing in service. You talk about, hey, this is how we're going to operate, and then you just leave it alone and hope that everybody magically remembers everything we talk about in July. So you have to be intentional with ongoing development throughout the school year of learning more about the structures, learning more about the impact of the different breathing strategies, learning more about how, what regulation is truly doing to not only your mind, your body, but to the children's mind and their bodies as well. But also saving time when you get the whole staff together every month, even if it's just 10 minutes to talk about some of the successes. Oftentimes we're quick to talk about when something's not going right, or, I'm struggling, or this program, we're not implementing it the correct way, but we rarely talk about the successes. So if you can save time, every month, that somebody has to be intentional about saying what's going well with implementation, what new strategy are you learning, You know, how when Principal Lambert comes on in the middle of the day after lunch and recess with our me moment, how is this impacting us? Like if you save time for that, that's what begins to build the momentum. And when it comes to advice, I would tell all of our school leaders, the best advice I can give you is transparency. You have to be transparent in the process. And you know, even if you're gun ho about it, but you have certain hesitations and you're trying to figure out how this is going to work, let your team know. Because I was totally honest with my team and said, hey, I'm not sure about this, but what we're doing is not working. I'm 100% sure about that. Like what we're doing is not working. So this is we have to reinvent ourselves, and as we go along this path, I commit to you to learning and being honest about how we're doing. All I ask you to do is be all in on it. You can't be on the fence. You have to be all in. So I think just having some of those transparent conversations with your staff, letting them know that, hey, we understand change management. You know, if you're not someone who is in the mindfulness space, this will be a shift for you, but it's more likely going to be a shift for all of us. And if we can be true to this as adults, we know we can do some things that's going to be super exciting for our young people, because as learned adults, all of our stories are written. If you're working in a school, that means you're an educated adult, and there are schools in every city and every state in the United States. You can find a job somewhere. The story is still yet to be written for those young people that you're educating, because the statistics say some of them may not even graduate from high school. So are you willing as an adult to do the hard work to ensure a greater day for your young people? And if you're willing to do that, BeWell in Schools can be the game changer at your school.
I'll jump in and share just something that makes BeWell feasible for us is it has to be systematized. You cannot just approach this with like well, we might have a me moment today, but maybe tomorrow it might not happen. It truly has to be ingrained into everything you do. And so for us, that meant it started in summer PD, where when we talked about what happens when we meet a student who might not be regulated emotionally, what options do we have? What options do we used to use all the time? But what are the options we actually are looking and moving to the future to look at? Because without those systems in place, without embedding these things into your daily schedule every day, they're going to be haphazard. They might happen, they might not. And that creates even less consistency for kids, and less consistency means they feel less safe. And when they don't feel safe, they're going to still act out. And those things are going to happen. And then in terms of just like, I think a piece of advice, I love what Dr. Gibbs said about like you have to be a dedicated leader to really, really embark on this journey. And even if you feel unsure about certain things, talk to other people, ask questions, talk to your staff about those things. It matters to them because you are asking them to think about something in a way that one, they probably never experienced themselves in school. And now we're asking them to deviate from ways they were even trained in teacher programs to manage some of these situations. And so it is a complete shift for all of us. And that staff buy-in for us, leader buy-in has really been the thing that's helped get our parents bought in. Kids are 5 and 6. They're going to buy into whatever we put in front of them. And what we want to put in front of them is the very, very best thing that we know is truly going to help them develop coping skills that will help them cope in all aspects of their lives. To Principal Alexander's point, not just in school, this is about helping them be better in every aspect where they may need to be able to utilize their breath to help them be able to regulate. So you got to get the staff buy-in, and you have got to systematize it and make sure it is literally a part of your everyday practice at school.
And I'll jump in. I think continuous professional development, building off of Principal Lambert, starting with summer and make it a continuous cycle. Fall, every season, fall, winter, spring, summer, keep it going. And building staff knowledge, beginning with the research. Why is it important? The why behind the work. And even when I'm leading professional development with the staff, starting professional development with breathing, bringing us together. And even when we have challenges, we always want to talk about the challenges, but what are the action steps of what we're going to do with the challenges and where are we going from there, and making improvements from there? Because we're not going to take ourselves away from the challenges. We're going to go towards the challenges and enhance the work, because we're in school turnaround work and we've got to show that our scholars that this is where we're going and the sky is the limit, because we're here for you guys and your families, and how we're going to improve this work with BeWell for all stakeholders in the community for our schools.
I would say two things. Get a really strong BeWell coordinator. We've had two, and our second one has just brought a renewed passion to our team and has been really supportive and speaks so highly of BeWell in all spaces because she truly believes in it. And so when people are truly invested, it shows. And I think the next thing would be like, keep the data front. There's people who are super type A. They need to see the numbers. They need to, like, you can say all the qualitative things, but until you say like, and here's the result for students, here's the result in terms of retention of staff, then they don't believe it and they won't buy into it. So definitely, as Principal Lambert said, you've got to systematize it, and one of the systems has to be data collection and analysis.
Amazing. Thank you all. Any final nuggets to share before I close out this recording?
Just a shout out to all of y'all. I want y'all to see my paper. Oh, you can't because it's blocking it. I'm full of notes over here. And I just truly appreciate, this is my first time being in a space with other leaders who have implemented BeWell. And one is just very refreshing to me. I think sometimes I get a little beat down and depleted over the course of the year. It's February. I'm not even sure what's happening in nature right now or when I'm gonna see kids again. And so just having this time to be together with you all and really get ideas about how we can take our BeWell 1.0 to BeWell 2.0 is just really, I just really appreciate it. So thank you all.
That was a beautiful nugget, Alex. I think there is magic in, you know, the bringing together school leaders who have this shared ideology, especially right now. And so I hope this leads to, you know, ongoing connections. And if I can ever support with that, let me know. And I welcome all ideas of how this can be a more supportive community for all of you. I'm going to stop our recording there unless there's any other final thoughts. Okay.